people that believe in the value of freedom of speech and Europeans, welcome to a brand new video. I have very fantastic news for you today. The fallout is immense. Yes, JD Vance just gave a speech, which I've already covered in Europe. He goes to Munich. Everyone thought he was going to be talking about security concerns, and he didn't really talk about security concerns from without as much as security concerns from within. My dude over here gave an entire speech, walked into the room, invited all the European leaders, flipped over the table, shit on their faces, and rubbed it on their face post-shit. It was a pretty glorious moment, honestly, all things considered. He basically called people in Europe authoritarian for silencing freedom of speech. And today, journalists are arguing that he's been fascist for trying to say that freedom of speech is actually important. In fact, CNN says that freedom of speech is what caused the Holocaust. Which is probably the worst take of all time. All right, we're going to be showing you all of that. We're going to be showing you all of the responses of all the world leaders. All the world leaders came together to make separate responses to JD Vance specifically. And every single one of them basically said, he offended us. Let's silence him. Literally proving him right. There is like an actual insane situation on our hands right now. We are going full down the rabbit hole of how freedom of speech is dead in Europe. Not only is it dead in Europe, but even in America, they are fighting their goddamn best to kill it. And they, in this instance, being the shadow government, democratic, news-leaning, left-leaning news sites. So there is a lot of excitement on the horizon. First, I wanted to give you a quick 2-minute Vance speech, in case you didn't watch my previous coverage, and then this is just going to be 2 minutes of Vance, and then I'm going to show you some insane shit, the likes of which you are not ready for.
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners.
Ooh.
I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content.
Hateful content? Well, that means we should just silence free speech. We should just murder the citizens if they do any hateful content, right, guys? Hateful content, bro. It's a good thing I'm not in Europe. Holy shit.
Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet.
Did you say, bitch, make me a sandwich in a comment section on Facebook? Well, that's jail time in Germany. This is a pretty great speech, honestly.
A day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder.
Bro! Bro! Like, are we recognizing how insane this is? All right, I covered this already, so I'm not going to give too much commentary. I just wanted to show you, like, what this speech was actually about. You will notice, because an underlying theme in all the times where they're actually silencing freedom of speech. It has a very, very big underlying theme. And basically, all of the speech that they're shutting down is directly involved in illegal immigration. And it's crazy.
And as the judge,
at least that's the ones that I've seen,
in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief.
Yes. So freedom of speech is not a thing if you offend people. Yes, I see.
And perhaps most concerningly,
dude, look at their faces.
I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime.
You ready? Are you ready?
Of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes.
That they arrested somebody for silently praying 50 meters away from an abortion clinic. Okay? I want to put into perspective the level of tyranny that we're talking about. This is actual fascist authoritarianism. And they're the ones that are hating on Trump.
Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own.
Yeah, silently praying, baby.
And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility.
All right, baby, you are not ready for that. There is a buffer law that you are not allowed to pray because it might change people's minds. Okay? Thought crimes, baby. Thought crimes.
He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the
What?
prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example
my
of a
God.
badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even
that mean?
private prayer
You ready?
within their own homes may amount to breaking the law.
Private prayer in their own homes might be breaking the law. Are we on the same page here that this is absolute insanity? Like, 1984 didn't come up with shit.
Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens
And snitch.
suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Yeah, so anyway, that was the basic bitch version, watered down version of his speech. Now, this caused something of an uproar. People on Europe decide that the best way to combat this speech is by, you guessed it, censoring it, baby. That's the best way. You have to censor this speech. Yeah, they don't believe in freedom of speech over there. It's kind of insane. It's getting really bad. It's getting actual authoritarian, and it's definitely a little bit scary. But you know what's even scarier? JD Vance recently retweeted a specific conversation that was had on the news. This is what I told you about in the beginning. This is Rubio, and I think, what is he, the Secretary of State or something? And anyway, you aren't... I could describe what's said here, but I think the best is for you to hear it. And then maybe we'll play it 14 more times because of how crazy it is.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a
Right, so there's right now, this is shitting on JD Vance. That's what they're doing right here. They're talking about JD Vance's speech. All right, you ready?
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
She's saying that JD Vance's speech was bad because the speech about free speech was given in a country where free speech caused the Holocaust. Are we all retarded today? Is that what's happening? Nazi Germany was not a thing about free speech. In fact, very much the opposite. They would murder people if they didn't have the same ideologies. It was the opposite of free speech in every possible, conceivable way. They are trying to make free speech fascist. Okay, this is the level of retardation we're talking about.
And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship...
Changing the tone of it because it was in a country that also had Nazis in it? Oh my God, are you insane? All right, Margaret, shut the fuck up.
Disagree with you.
Specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. God. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none.
There was none. That's a fact. They would burn your books if the books were antithetical to their beliefs. They were the most anti-free speech people of all time. Like literally, free speech is the antithesis to Nazi Germany. Her saying that free speech caused the Holocaust might be the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life. And this is in the United States.
Also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Yeah, so anyway, obviously insanely retarded, and Marco Rubio shut her down. And then you have JD Vance retweeting this. This is a crazy exchange. Does the media really think the Holocaust was caused by free speech? One of the first things Hitler did among gaining power was apply aggressive censorship, obviously. Guys, you don't hate the media enough. Every time you think you hate the media, you don't hate them enough. This is like an unbelievable, blatant lie to fearmonger against JD Vance, and they had nothing. So what they did was, they said, oh, the Holocaust, that was caused by free speech. What the fuck? Look, my grandfather, Holocaust survivor, he's made it very clear to me that one of the major differences between Nazi Germany and America is the free speech. He told me that himself. This is insanity. So anyway, and I saw the full context, and the full context doesn't make it any better. That's literally it. So don't say I'm taking anyone out of context. I saw the full context. It was insane. Now, the thing is, a lot of people are unaware of something that I think is important to note. Let me see if I can find it, because I think it's out of order in my notes. Yeah. So this is not a one-off thing. Kamala Harris also wanted to censor free speech. This is a very, very not single ideology currently among the left media. Leftist media advocates for this. They try to make it look like they're not advocating for this, but they are. This is a little clip of Joe Rogan and Kamala Harris. Almost President Harris. It's kind of crazy to even think about. We were almost on that timeline. Take a listen to this one, baby. Because listen, I love chaos. I love chaos a lot. A lot. So when I heard that free speech caused the Holocaust, according to fucking leftist news media, it made me very happy. It made me very happy. Literally reaffirming every bias I've ever had. Every bias ever of all time. Holy crap, bro. Yes, that actually was fantastic. Let them keep saying retarded shit and torpedoing all their causes. Why should I torpedo their cause when they can torpedo their cause themselves? All right, now listen to Harris right here for a second, and pay attention, because she has the same exact idea
that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
Did you hear what she said? She said because people on social media are talking without oversight and regulation, it has to stop. She is saying censor speech because it's not regulated by the government. That's fascism, okay? Everyone's sitting there in their little fucking nutcase land. Trump is a fascist. Meanwhile, literally every leftist government in the world is trying to censor people. Am I the only one that thinks we're actually living in clown world? These are my monkeys, and I am sitting in my circus. This is insanity. And Joe Rogan picks up on that because that's insane.
Okay, right away.
Yeah.
There's no way to misconstrue that.
What does that mean?
Oversight and regulation for free speech is ridiculous.
Yeah, totally.
Just that alone, there's no way to misconstrue that, right? What she was saying is what I was thinking she was saying.
Yes!
She was saying...
Because it's what she was saying. Because in the mind of these fucking insane mongrels that are running the fucking government, behind the scenes, without regulation, they are literally not only clamping down on freedom of speech, but they are painting freedom of speech as evil and as fascism. Okay? Bro, free speech caused the Holocaust might be the worst take of all time. Like, unironically, it might be the worst take in the history of time.
She wants government oversight and regulation for social media. That's crazy.
It's crazy for anyone to want it, because if the only reason you want it, right, is because you agree with the ideological bent of the platform, wait until someone else is in charge of it, or wait until there's a different government in charge.
It's also saying that the very thing that Mark Zuckerberg regrets should be happening. Like, she's essentially saying, why should they have different rules for Facebook than they do for Twitter?
Yeah. She is literally sitting there and saying we should ban people for their opinions on social media. We should silence specific opinions. They are advocating against freedom of speech. And it's not just in Europe, it's the left in America as well right now. Cancel culture has always been a thing, but this is like cancel culture times a billion. Literally, like this is insanity. It's closer to Nazism than anything Trump has ever done.
Like, what rules? Like,
what rules?
We don't have rules. We have First Amendment rights of free speech.
That is
do you recognize the insanity? Bro, Trump might sit there and say, this is me in Canada. I'll break a couple. Canada will be the 51st state. Mexico will call it Gay Texas. It's gonna be huge. We all love it. It's gonna be fantastic. We're gonna conquer the world. Everyone will want to join the United States of America. We're gonna be so big. You're gonna come in. You're gonna be like, wow, what a beautiful country America is. That's what they call fascist. This goes under the radar completely. I've never seen a single leftist person even talk about this kind of shit. Now, I am a very big fan of free speech to the point that, and I'm gonna make this clear, while rolling back restrictions on insulting transsexuals, gays, and immigrants, Meta, that's Facebook, will retain its ban on Holocaust denial, criticism of Zionists, and Jewish power. This is fucking awful. Obviously, the Holocaust happened, and I think anyone that did even a modicum of real research knows the Holocaust happened, just simply put. But banning Holocaust denial is just gonna make retards in the comments say, wow, who could have guessed it? Lamau, they're not even trying to hide it anymore, right? These, you know, that's crazy. You wonder, the root cause still can't be addressed. Obviously, the root cause being, you know, Jews, right? So I think that freedom of speech is really important, even if it's something that, like, for example, Holocaust denial is obviously a pretty horrible thing, and you're a really shitty person if you do deny the Holocaust. Personally, in my opinion, you're a shitty guy, but you have the right to say anything, in my opinion. And on the contrary, by the fact that you're censoring certain discussions, it only makes people think that those discussions are being censored because they're true. It makes it worse. It pours fuel on the fire. Now, Trump had a funny thing to say about Vance's speech, and then I'm going to get to all the European leaders responding to them being called authoritarian. But this is pretty great.
Can I just follow up on Jackie's question about Munich? Vice President Vance's speech to the conference has ruffled quite a few feathers in Europe.
Yeah, and we're going to look at those ruffled feathers in a minute.
What did he say to ruffle them?
He was talking about...
Honestly, Trump is playing dumb here for sure. Like, he's doing this on purpose. Why are they ruffled? All he said is freedom of speech good. Is that ruffled? That's crazy.
Freedom of speech and migration in Europe. Do you believe that European leaders have a fundamentally different view of the world than this administration?
Well, I heard his speech, and I tell you, you're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech.
All right, pretty basic shit, right? That's, you know, that's kind of the number one thing about America that makes America America. Am I right, guys?
And I think it's true in Europe. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what they fought about in the World War II and in the Cold War? They were fighting against Russia, who was censoring people and forcing people into communism. And they were fighting against Germany, who were complete authoritarians and censoring people through fascism. And now they are doing that exact same shit. They are actually fucking backsliding into actual dictatorship mentalities.
I see it. I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts.
He's right.
I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.
So anyway, that's Trump kind of, in my opinion, playing dumb. I think he knows that people are upset about it, and I think he's just saying, what is there even to be upset about? He just said freedom of speech. Are the people that are against freedom of speech upset? I think it's literally him just playing that to make them look even stupider than they are, and I think it worked. Now, this is the same person that that said that the Holocaust was caused by freedom of speech. This is the segment that Margaret did on J.D. Vance's speech before she claimed that free speech caused the Holocaust. This is insane!
Well, it sounded to a lot of these allies of the United States like they were being described as adversaries or autocrats.
They were being criticized for censoring freedom of speech. Yeah, that's exactly right.
It was really the focus here, two things. One of them was migration, and the second was what Vice President Vance calls censorship.
I love how she says it like censorship. Like, only retards think that's a real thing, she says, as she claims that free speech caused the Holocaust.
He was trying to bring that MAGA message of the enemy within to the...
What does that even mean? The MAGA message of freedom of speech? What are you talking about? Like, dude, this is the fucking news. This is the media, bro. This is the mainstream media. Oh my God!
The global stage. And specifically, he says that European leaders aren't showing that they have strong democracies when they sideline controversial groups. He went out of his way.
He didn't say when they sideline controversial groups. He said when they sideline freedom of speech, when they arrest people for praying, okay? That's what he said. The amount of actual history revisionism in her describing what happened literally one day before would be shocking, if not for the insane history revisionism of saying free speech caused the Holocaust, which is my new favorite meme. I'm going to definitely be using that in the future. Next time someone tells you something that the mainstream media said, you could just remind them that at least it wasn't as retarded as when they said that free speech caused the Holocaust.
Way to meet with the head of the AfD. That's a political party that's under investigation in Germany because it's so far right and for potentially conducting extremism. And he mentioned that car ramming in Munich recently conducted by an Afghan migrant as an example of what he says is out of control migration. He says that's proof you've got to bring immigration.
I'm sorry. This is a story of an Afghanistan migrant that came to Germany, was not a German citizen, crashed into a crowd of people while screaming Allahu Akbar. Obviously, this was not like a well-integrated person into German society, right? Like, that was his claim. His claim was immigration is a little bit out of control. That was his claim. He also said freedom of speech is a little being censored. You know how you know he was right? Because did you know what the response was by the German government when this happened? When this crime happened, that the guy that yelled Allahu Akbar repeatedly and crashed into a crowd of people, and you know what they did? The first thing they said was they're afraid this will cause a rise of Islamophobia. That was their first response. Don't you think? And then they censored people talking about it. You can't even make this shit up. You literally cannot even make this shit up. Yeah, let me actually pull up a video of that, because I don't like saying things without evidence, because people always like pull a Hassan and then say you're wrong when you're actually right. It's the new Hassan strategy, where he watches a clip of you and he says you're wrong and laughs for like 12 minutes. Anyway, I think this guy covered it.
An Afghan migrant drove a car into a left-wing protest in Munich. And how did leftists in Germany react? By hitting the streets of Munich to protest against the far right. Naturally, upsetting details emerging of 28 injured in Munich attack by 24-year-old Afghan asylum seeker. Germany really needs to get a grip with its increasing demonisation of Muslims, ethnic minorities and migrants. What? Alright, yet again, who's got the Norm Macdonald meme? Climate activist, Munich was right-wing car terror. For the left-wing climate activist Tadzio Muller, it's already clear. The attack in Munich is car terror, for which right-wing propaganda is...
They blamed right-wing propaganda for this, because of car terror.
To blame. Meanwhile, he sees the perpetrator as affected by racism. I mean, the fact that the dude's a migrant from Afghanistan posted Islamist messages on social media before the attack, then after the attack repeatedly invoked Allah. Ya Allah! Ya Allah! Oh shit. Ya Allah! Ya Allah! Ya Allah! Okay. Ya Allah! Must surely mean that the only logical conclusion to make is that far-right propaganda and racism is to blame. Literally in Munich just last week, 250,000 leftists showed up to protest against the far right.
Whatever. Anyway, I'm not defending the far right or anything like that. But the fact that they decided the number one thing to do was to blame the far right and censor people talking about this because they were afraid of Islamophobia, it's wild. It's definitely wild. Now, this is not to say that every immigrant is a bad guy. This is not to say that every Muslim is a bad guy. This is not to say that every of any group at all ever is a bad guy. Literally none of that shit. The point is, they are obviously enacting proof every day that they're silencing speech. Every single day. And you can't even make it up. It's actually insane. Now, this is the response by all the European world leaders about JD Vance. This is the response by all of them. Bro, you are not ready. Like, this is actual clown show. Now, I don't want you to think this is news. I am not a news channel. I am a chaos channel. I will put a smile on your face whether I do it through force or whether or not, okay? We are going to enjoy the shit out of this. Tragic as it is.
Display Nazi symbolism, a swastika, or deny the Holocaust. That's clear.
That's clear that should be banned, all right? So, that's the bar. That's the bar. The bar is, it's clear that freedom of speech should not be legal. Now, the question is, how illegalized do we make freedom of speech?
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
All right, good question.
Yes.
Yes,
it is.
Yes, it is. They all three of them at the same time. Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You insult someone in public? Oh! Jail, baby. Jail, baby. Yes.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Internet insults are worse. There's a very good reason for that.
Because in internet, it stays there. Oh. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
that sticks around forever.
Yeah.
The prosecutor.
Are we insane? Like, are we all in actual fucking clown world? You insult someone in person? You insult someone. What, you trigger them and you get arrested? Like, and of course they're afraid of insulting politicians.
Prosecutors explain German law also prohibits the spread of malicious gossip.
Oh, gossip? That's some criminal shit, baby. But no, free speech is alive and fine in Europe. Am I right, guys? Yeah, Vance is the bad guy here.
And fake quotes.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it,
all right. So someone just believes misinformation and retweets it.
Likes it. Are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders. But in most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices.
Cool, huh? That's pretty cool. Am I right, guys? If you retweet something and that thing that you retweeted ended up not being true, you're spreading gossip laws and you might get arrested and fined. Like, what? And the craziest thing is, you know that only specific gossip laws are actually gonna get cooked. Right? We're all on the same page here. Like, bro, it's gotta follow the message.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked. It's a kind of punishment if you lose your smartphone. It's even worse than the fine you have to pay.
That's hilarious. Anyway, more leaders in Europe had many other things to say about this because what are they are they supposed to admit it? Are they supposed to admit it? All right. So let me teach you a thing or two about irony. All right. So Vance explained to everyone that free speech is good. Their response:
this is why I cannot just ignore what we heard before. I cannot not comment on the speech we heard by the US Vice President. We fight for your right to be against us. That is the motto, one of the mottos of the Bundeswehr, and it stands for our democracy.
Right. I might not agree what you say, but I will fight for your right to say it. I stand by that completely.
This democracy that was just called into question by the US Vice President, and not just the German democracy, but Europe as a whole. He spoke of the annulment of democracy, and if I understood him correctly, he compares the condition of Europe with the condition that prevails in some authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not acceptable.
And look at them all clapping. Like, bro said free speech bad, you guys are going down a slippery slope, and they're like, did he call us authoritarian? Yes, he did. Look at that long applause that he's getting. They're all like, and the craziest thing is, this is a group of people that are actively censoring their political opponents. Like, that is the people in the room. That literally is the people that are here. People that are engaging in censorship. So of course they're clapping, because they use censorship to retain power. Like, bro, stop!
This is not acceptable. This is not the Europe, not the democracy where I live and where I conduct my election campaign right now. And this is not the democracy that I witness every day in our parliament. In our democracy, every opinion has a voice. And it makes it possible for parties that
every opinion has a voice, unless we arrest you for that voice.
Are partly extremists, such as the AfD, and they can campaign just as any other party. This is democracy. And if the Vice President had the opportunity to switch on his TV set when he arrived yesterday, he would have seen one of those candidates at primetime TV. By the way, we even admit media that spread Russian propaganda and the representatives of the federal government.
I love how they're going on like this entire speech, literally just yapping and talking about how we actually do have democracy, and we're not changing any of these things that you pointed out. How dare you question us?
And to answer their questions, nobody is excluded.
So it's like they're basically saying, look, we even have extremist parties. Yes, we censor them every time they speak, but we still let the parties exist.
But democracy does not mean that a vociferous minority will automatically be right, and they cannot decide what...
He's not telling you that the minority needs to be right. He's just telling you, shut the fuck up and stop banning people for speech. Like, I think they're willfully ignorant because they actually use censorship as a weapon. Just like the fucking, honestly, Biden administration has been proven to be doing with Facebook. Literally using censorship as a weapon. During COVID, they didn't release a list of actual, they didn't release a list of side effects of the vaccines. And they just released it. They just released a list of side effects of the vaccine. Why didn't they release that before? And anyone that talks about that shit immediately got banned. Like, it's insane.
Truth is, it does not mean that anyone can say anything, and democracy must be able to defend itself.
You're right. There are limits to free speech. The limits to free speech are things that I would say, for example, incitement to violence. I think incitement of violence is not free speech anymore, because you are causing an actual action. It's not an opinion anymore. But when it's just opinions, when it's just conversations, when it's silent prayer, like, these people are retarded.
Against extremists that try to destroy it. I am happy to live in Europe, where this democracy is defended every day against its internal and external enemies.
Like, he's just saying things. He's just yapping.
And therefore, I would like to explicitly contradict and oppose the impression that Vice President Vance suggested here, that our democracies oppress and silence minorities. We not only know against whom we defend our countries, but also what we defend it for.
The crazy thing is, he's just wrong about, like, so many of the things he's saying. Like, with all the examples that were given. And I'll show them to you, don't worry.
It's for democracy, for freedom of
right.
opinion,
for
the rule of law,
right.
and the dignity of each and every one.
Of course! Yes, it's for the dignity in people.
Ladies and gentlemen, But unlike the Vice President, I would also like to focus my speech on the most pressing questions of European and transatlantic security. The last days have confirmed what many had speculated for months. The United States are pushing for a quick peace settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and they expect Europe to take the lead in securing any agreement that follows.
Yeah, like that's such a bad thing. Yes, Europe should be involved. Yeah, crazy. But anyway, I wanted to show you some other responses because this is very fun. Other people literally just losing their shit over Vance's speeches because that guy just lied. I don't know who he is, but he literally just went out there and just lied to the people, which is kind of crazy. But as I will prove to you, don't worry. But it gets funnier because they have actual crash out moments crying on stages. Oh no!
After the speech of Vice President Vance on Friday, we have to fear that our common value base is not that common anymore.
To be honest, that's what America is fearing. America is fearing the same exact thing. For some reason, you guys don't believe in freedom of speech over there in Europe, and it's really scary.
I'm very grateful to all those European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky. Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
So brave! That had to be clipped out of context. There's no fucking way. The clipping is misleading. The emotional outburst did not happen after mentioning Vance's speech, but it's at the conclusion of the speech, which was his farewell as chairman. All right. Well, anyway. Anyway, the pussies have spoken. This is crazy. It's insane. So anyway, Rubio fires back at everyone that's upset about freedom of speech, at the freedom of speech speech, which I think is very cool. And I think Rubio's kind of cooking. I don't know what's going on, bro, but Rubio's literally been on fire.
Why would our allies or anybody be irritated by free speech and by someone giving their opinion?
That's the question, huh? Yeah, Vance gives his opinion. Everyone shuts him down. Guys, let me not beat around the bush here, but if you are shutting down someone for giving their opinion, you are literally proving them right. It's like all the clowns got together. It's like, all right, so how do we prove that Vance is wrong about us not having free speech? And they're like, I know, we should censor him. Guys, like, did they all join the Special Olympics? Like, actually? I got comments on my video. I even pinned a comment on my video covering the Vance speech. Bro, so on my video covering the JD Vance speech, I pinned this comment saying, I am German. Our news tried to spin this around and told me he was talking about Trump destroying democracy in the United States. I'm glad I don't need other people to translate for me. Bros? What? They mistranslated his speech? Again, I don't know. That's just a comment. He could be wrong. Maybe he's lying. Who knows? But, like, dude, this is crazy. I don't know, bro. Actual clown world. Hey, guys, that's me, blue retard on the internet, fighting against other retards on the internet.
We are, after all, democracies. The Munich Security Conference is largely a conference of democracies in which one of the things that we cherish and value is the ability to speak freely and provide your opinions.
Yeah, it's almost like freedom of speech is literally the spine of democracy. And by the fact that all these people are censoring freedom of speech, it almost goes and shows that they are far more fascists than the fascists that they swore to destroy.
And so I think if anyone's angry about his word, they don't have to agree with him, but to be angry about it, I think actually makes his point. I thought it was actually a pretty historic speech, whether you agree with him or not. I think the valid points he's making to Europe is we are concerned that the true values that we share, the values that bind us together with Europe, are things like free speech and democracy and our shared history in winning 2 world wars and defeating Soviet communism and the like. These are the values that we shared in common.
Yeah, but Rubio never heard that, he never heard at this point that free speech caused the Holocaust, because that would have changed everything. That's still the greatest quote in the history of the media.
And in that Cold War, we fought against things like censorship and oppression and so forth. And when you see backsliding and you raise that, that's a very valid concern. We can't tell them how to run their countries. He simply expressed in a speech his view of it, which a lot of people frankly share. And I thought he said a lot of things in that speech that needed to be said. And honestly, I don't know why anybody would be upset about it. People are allowed, you don't have to agree with someone's speech. I happen to agree with a lot of what he said, but you don't have to agree with someone's speech to at least appreciate the fact they have a right to say it, and then you should listen to it and see whether those criticisms are valid.
Exactly.
I assure you, the United States has come under withering criticism on many occasions from many leaders in Europe, and we don't go around throwing temper tantrums about it.
He's so based. He's so right. Literally. Like, I don't understand. Vance's whole speech, I listened to the speech. I covered the entire speech. His speech was basically, hey guys, freedom of speech is good. Let's not censor people. Massive temper tantrums and censorship was the response. If that's not telling, then I don't know what is. It's insane. He's like, bro, why are our allies irritated by free speech? He's asking such a good question. Such a good question. Oh my God. Now, speaking of freedom of speech, this is a clothing ad that was banned because the model is thin. This is a clothing ad that exists in the United Kingdom. Just thought that was funny. This is a clothing ad that was banned because it's a skinny lady. This is a they-them ad that is not banned because it does have the right messaging. Like, you can't just make this shit up. Apparently, the Supreme Court ruled that Biden administration is allowed to continue censoring conservative social media posts in major free speech case. Guys, freedom of speech is dead in Europe. Whether you like it or not, it kind of is. So this is two Australian nurses that basically said that any Israeli that comes to their hospital, they would murder. And they also specifically spoke about how they have murdered Israelis that have come to their hospital in the past. This is the clip.
Right. You know what? I'm gonna be really honest with you.
All right.
I'm gonna be really honest with you. You actually got a really, really beautiful eyes.
Thank you,
but
man.
I'm so upset that you're Israeli. Like, eventually you're gonna get killed and you're gonna go to Jahannam, inshallah.
That's hell.
Like these pretty eyes, they should stay in this world for longer.
Why do you think? Why do you think I'm gonna get killed?
Because inshallah one day God will.
Maybe because I served in the IDF. That's why.
That's definitely the answer. Correct.
That's the reason, because I served in the IDF. What's the problem with that? What's the issue with that?
Because you killed innocent people. That's
Killed?
why.
I was protecting my country.
So you kill innocent people to protect your country. What kind of soul do you have? You have no soul.
In a war, people die, as you know.
No.
They started the war.
Not 1200.
Who started?
57.
It's okay. Your time will come.
Who started? Who started this war?
I hope you guys.
Who elected Hamas? Who elected Hamas?
This guy elected Hamas. You know Hamas, the terrorists?
It's Palestine's country, not your
Hello.
country. You piece
How
of
are you?
shit.
What's your name?
No, none of you.
We're
listen to my
talking
name.
politely
Listen to me.
here. We're talking politely
day,
here.
One day, your time will come and you will die the most horrible
You
death.
sprayed
You
hate.
remember
We
me,
sprayed
and
positivity.
I
We spread
prayed,
protection.
and I
We
want you-
spread
listen to me,
peace.
Listen to me.
And
when
you
your-
spread
when your
death.
time comes.
How are you doctors? Wait.
I want you to remember my face.
Okay,
so you
okay.
can understand
Gotcha.
that you will
I have
die
a
the most
question though.
disgusting death.
All right, for sure. I have a question though. I have a question. Let's say an Israeli.
But you're saying no one elected Hamas? You're wrong. Hamas was elected in Gaza.
God
I won't treat
forbid.
them. I won't treat them.
She won't treat them. Israelis? Nope, she won't treat them, guys.
Kill them.
You'll kill them? So if an Israeli is in Australia and God forbid something happened to him and he comes
Not
to
God
your
forbid.
hospital,
I hope to God.
would you kill him?
Okay, you have no idea how many Israeli Khara dog came to this hospital and I sent him to Jahannam.
He sent them to hell.
I literally sent him to Jahannam.
For real? So if just Jewish people comes there?
Yeah, so anyway, this guy basically claims that he's already murdered lots of Israelis and Jews that have already come to the hospital. Like, that was his claim. Now, you're probably wondering what the immediate response is. So they were obviously fired because they are nurses. Okay, actual nurses. For some reason. Healthcare people, yeah. Pretty awesome. So they were fired. But guys, the e-safety commissioner is attempting to have the nurse's video removed from the internet, citing concerns over Islamophobia. So freedom of speech is dead. Okay, all right, you guys show this clip. They're gonna fucking remove this clip, bro. What? It's gonna cause Islamophobia. So they gotta remove this clip. Like, bro, this is evil. This is evil shit. It's actually insane. Like, you can't make this shit up, bro. It's actual insanity. So I saw this video that was, I didn't watch it, but I saw this video show up titled Britain's Crackdown on Free Speech. Basically showing tons of examples of freedom of speech just actually being gone in England. So I think it's important to go through this because I feel like I want to cover this topic appropriately as we keep going. So I'm excited. This is gonna be fun. Hell yeah, baby. So when Vance gave his speech and everyone freaked out and decided to censor him, it turns out it was pretty telling.
If a person destroys another person's property, they break the law.
All right.
But what if a
Makes
person
sense.
watches a live stream and in the comment section says, blow the Musk up with the adults in it?
All right, that's pretty mean. All right, putting that in a YouTube chat, that's pretty fucked up.
Does that deserve prosecution?
Epic foreshadowing.
Offence of publishing written material intending to stir up racial hatred.
The woman who sent this post was jailed for 15 months.
She typed something in a live stream chat. A live stream chat on YouTube, and she was in prison for 15 months. Bros!
And she is not the only one. The UK doesn't publish exact figures on how many people are arrested for things they say online, but anyone can send a Freedom of Information request. That's what the Times did. And they found that in 2017, the number of arrests rose to over 3,300.
More than 3,395 people were arrested in 2017 alone for online comments. Hello? That's crazy. Bro! 3,300 people in 1 year. In 1 year, in 2017, and it's worse now. And they were arrested. Oh my God. And they have the gall to bitch about how Vance was talking about freedom of speech. Like, actual insane metrics. Actual insane metrics. Like, actually insanity. Literally, no other way to say it. It's like actually active insanity. And he does an entire video here. This is a whole video. I imagine he's just gonna go through like a bunch of examples of people getting arrested for saying basically free speech shit. Basically, basic bitch free speech stuff. So I'm not gonna watch this entire video. You can definitely check it out if you want. Britain's crackdown on free speech. That's really not the point. The point that I was really trying to make was the fact that Vance gave a speech saying that freedom of speech is in fact important, and for some reason, you guys are not really doing that whole freedom of speech thing very well. The response was censoring him, censoring critics, saying that America is authoritarian, and going about their merry way. Actual clown world. If I was living in Europe right now, I would be very scared. But to wrap this entire situation up, because this is like the type of chaos that I like very much. I do love chaos. Shout out to chaos. Thank you, God, for creating hypocrisy so I can make some good content. We got Kamala Harris wanting this shit, but most importantly, I wanted to end on one positive note. That this is my new favorite clip of all time.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
Yes, this is the greatest speech of all time. The media thinks the Holocaust was created by free speech. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys and your daily dose of chaos. It's been fun. Turns out Vance was just correct about everything. I hate actually having to do research for videos these days, but it turns out the videos end up being a lot better when I actually research them, and it turns out I'm actually right about all the things that I say. Hamas Piker, he doesn't like me anymore. This is very sad, probably because I have opinions that are actually correct and factual. He doesn't like that much, to be honest. He prefers misinformation, to be honest. It's more of his vibe, I'd say. Now, instead of actually criticizing me normally, Hamas Piker instead decided he was just going to retweet like a generic tweet shitting on me instead of actually Hassan retweeted. That's our guy. That's our dude. That's our goat. That's our goat. Between endorsing terrorists and denying rapes, he's out there retweeting hate posts on me, which means I'm doing the right thing. This is definitely an endorsement if I've ever gotten one. Hassan, I'm curious to hear your take personally on if the Holocaust was caused by freedom of speech. Hell yeah, thanks for being here. This is just a nice little bit of chaos to make your day a little spicier, and have yourself a most wonderful evening. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.